Day 4 APIs, how system talks to each other. So welcome to day 4 of our technical business analyst workshops. So yesterday we learned how data is stored in a database using our loan form example. So we inserted and updated and viewed and deleted data. So today we'll go one step further and we'll see how systems communicate, how your loan app talks to another system using something called APIs. So before we go to today's lesson, so let's do a quick recap on SQL before we start our code exercise. Okay. So let's recap our exercise. So this is our exercise yesterday. So you are a junior business analyst at FinEdge Loans. The QA tester has asked you to verify if the loan application from data is correctly saved, viewed and updated and deleted in the database. Okay, so here are the questions. So we need to create or manually insert a record, and we need to read the data, which is we need to view the data, and we need to update a record, and we need to delete the data, and we need to handle the duplicate record. Okay, so these are the activities we need to do. So before we go to this activity, when I was reviewing yesterday's recording, so I noticed I mentioned SQL standard. SQL stands for Standard Query Language, which is incorrect. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So maybe I'll write here. So maybe I'll include one here. Okay, so SQL Structured Query Language. Okay, so SQL standard for. So common SQL commands. So this is what we're gonna practice today. So create, I'll write uppercase, create or insert. So this one equivalent to add new data. Add new data to database. Okay. So next one, select, which is retrieve data from database, viewing data, update, which is modify existing data, and delete, remove data. Okay, so we'll practice this all today. Okay, so one more thing, so two tools for querying databases. Okay, so you can have different databases you can work with. So MySQL, there is one called Workbench for MySQL databases, and pgadmin for PostgreSQL, or otherwise you can have universal one. So you can have DB Weaver. DB Weaver is universal, or like you can have SQLite, which is we are using browser for this exercise. Okay, so if you are using Azure Data Studios, there are many tools available, utility tools you can use to access database. Okay, so let's head on to our database. Let's open our database. So here I'll open the database here, go to desktop. So I have created here FinEdge Loan DB. So if you browse the data, there is no data here. Okay, so if you go to database structure, currently there is no table created here. So first of all, we are going to create a table. Okay, so I think I have some schema. So this is a schema. So we have here row ID. Okay, we have a customer name. Row ID is the primary key. This is auto increase. Customer name, which is a text field. Loan type is a text field. Amount is integer. Email is a text field. These are the fields we are going to have. So this is our schema. So just to save time, I'm going to copy this command here, and we will go here, execute SQL command here. Okay, so you can paste your command. So right now there is no table in our database, so let's execute this one. Okay, so now our table is created. So you can go browse data, so you can see now your table is created. Okay, so these are the table. So now our first question was, to insert a record, create a new record. Okay, so let's create a new record here. So now we are going to use the manual way. Let's go here, and I'm going to, so we don't need this one, let's delete this one. So let's write the command. Okay, so here we need to insert. So here it's auto populating. You can press tab into, so you can see into, so our table name loan application. So first we need to write here what are the column names. So first we can customer name, comma, loan type. Okay, loan type and amount. Okay, these are the three columns we are going to fill up. Okay, so now what are the values? So value is going to be, so here we can write John Raj, or maybe we'll write John Sumit, famous one. And here loan type, so here we can enter the loan type, personal, and comma, and amount, so we can enter 10,000. Okay, that's it, and closing statement here. Now let's execute this one. Select and execute. Okay, so this is executed now. So we can go back to our browse data. So you see our first record is inserted. Okay, so that was our first question. So without coming here, our second question was, if I'm not wrong, read the data. So whatever you inserted here, you have to read it, right? So let's go back here. So let's read the data here and write the question, read. So we can use select here. So this, so how to write a select query here? Okay, so let's write view all personal loan applications. Okay, so I'm writing a comment here. So select, okay, this is the command you will use, select star, which is all from, enter, and loan application. This is the table name. So we want to filter only personal loan. Okay, so let's add a filter which is where loan type, I did a mistake here, so loan type equal to personal. Okay, okay, let's execute. Okay, I'm missing the command, closing. Should show record, serial record. What we are missing here, select star from loan application where loan type equal and personal, right? Oh yeah, so here we did a mistake here while we are entering, so that's why it's not showing. So let's copy the same here because there was a typo error, that's why it's not coming. So O came before this one, so that's why it's not showing the data. So there we go. We can see the data whatever you inserted. So that's how you can view the data using a select command. Okay. So now our third question, update a record. So we need to update whatever we entered here. Let's write a command here. So we'll go to, you see this record we inserted, there's no email ID. So what we're going to do, we are going to update the email ID. Okay, let's write John Sumit updates his email address. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So that's how you add comments when you are writing SQL statement. Okay, so now you start with update command, update what unit, so table name. So our table name is loan application and set. So set is update. Here set, what we gonna set, email ID equivalent to, let's put john dot s at email.com. Okay, so this is the email ID and the SQL statement. So we should see email ID here. Execute here. Okay, so this executed, so we can execute this select statement so that we can see here. Okay, see, there is the email we entered. Easy, right? You can write your query one time and you can use anytime. Okay, so next question is deletion. Okay, so let's enter comment here and delete. I'm not sure you guys can see this one. Okay, okay, so delete. So John Smith withdraws his application. So let's say he doesn't want to continue with us. Okay, he want to remove his record. So let's start with the delete command. Delete. So delete from, we have to give the table name here. Okay, and our table name is loan application. Okay, and what is the record type? So where customer name equal to, I have to give the name correctly, John Sumit. Okay, close the SQL statement. Okay, now let's execute here. Okay, it's gone. So again, we'll run the select statement and see. Maybe we did a mistake here. Let's go back and check how many records. So we have one record here, 10,000. Okay, so something wrong here. Let's check the name here. Okay, loan application where customer name GOHSMITH. Okay, delete from loan application where customer name. Okay, everything looks good, so it should delete the record. Execution. Okay, let's read the data. Okay, let's write again. Okay, I'm gonna copy the name, customer name here. I don't know, it's something. This the record is creating, right? So let's copy the name. I'm not sure if there is a mistake here. So this is the record we try to delete. Okay, it should delete. All right. So delete from loan application where customer name equal to John Smith. Okay, so this record should go. One row affected. Okay, so let's see if you still have the record. So now it's gone, right? So something wrong. There was a typo error on the name. Okay, so that's why. So we can run the select query again and see. So there is no record. Okay, so I'll execute again. So there is no record here. Let's insert a record here. So one record executed, and let's read the data, select command, so we can see record created. So this is null. Let's update the email ID here. Okay, and again, let's run the select command. We see whether the email ID has been updated. Yes, correct. Now let's drop the record, delete the record. Okay. Now again, run the select command. Okay, there's no record. Okay. So the last question is here. I think last question, duplicate record. So when as a BA, when you are working with requirement, so make sure ask this question: what are the business rules we need to implement, handle duplicate? Usually, database will not allow a duplicate record, but as a BA, you need to capture this one. So I'll show you one example manually how we can delete. Okay, so for this one we need to have multiple record. Okay, so I'm gonna insert multiple record here. So let's view here. We have one record here, number 3, row ID number 3, same record. Okay, I'm going to execute one more time. So we should see 2 record for John. Okay, so if you want, we can create. Okay, so now how we will remove this one record? It's exactly same, right? So that's our question. So let's construct our SQL query here. Number 5, delete duplicate record. Okay. So this SQL query, little, I would say, not complex. So let's break into one by one, okay, line by line, okay. So first, what we need to do, we need to delete. So let's write the delete statement here. Delete from, okay, what we need, table name. So from the loan table, loan application table, we need to delete a record. Okay, so that's the first line. So now let's go to the second line. Let's apply the filter where we need to delete. So we need to delete the customer called John Smith. Okay, double record. So let's apply the filter where customer name equal to, okay, I'm gonna copy this same record just to avoid confusion. Okay, remember when we are typing we had some issues. Okay, so now we know from the loan table where customer name. So if you delete, it won't go, it will delete everything. Okay, because we just want to keep one. So now we need to add line 3. We want to extra filter. If you execute this one, what will happen? Then where the customer name is John Smith, all the record will be gone. Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's add the filter. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, so I'm going to select delta SQL select. Okay. I'm going to tell the SQL to keep the MIM. I'm going to tell this equal to keep the row, the lowest row ID, which is 3, and delete rest of everything. That's what we are going to do. Okay, so I'm going to write row ID. Okay, row ID. Row ID is nothing but here is the primary key. Okay, so we are going to keep the lowest record ID, and we are going to click the highest one. Okay, so row ID, and where again we need to tell the table name from, let me make from loan application. Okay, that's type wrong. You have to type correctly, otherwise it won't populate. So now let's do the same thing where customer name is equal to Johnson. Okay, I'm gonna copy this one so that I can save time. Okay, so I don't need here. So here is our enter. So let's repeat again what we are going to do here. So this is our query. So delete from loan application where customer name equal John Sumit, and we are filtering select minimum row ID, lowest row ID from loan application table where customer name is very simple, right? So we are going to close the bracket here. We open the bracket here, right? So I think I am missing not in. Okay, so that's why I know something I am missing, but I'm not sure what I'm missing. Okay, row ID. Okay, so let me write again here. Okay, I need to add one, and let me write again. Okay, and row ID, sorry, row ID not in. Okay, subquery should go here, select. Okay, let me remove here. So, and row ID not in subquery, select min row ID. Okay, now row ID, you have to write the same row ID here. Okay, so I can close this one, and now I can close my statement here. And okay, so let me double check again. Delete from loan application where customer name equal to John Smith, and row ID not in select min row ID from loan application where customer name equal to John Smith, and close this one. So let's execute and see if this record is deleting or not. Okay, execution finished without error. So that's a good sign. So let's see, select and see whether, okay, there you go. Our row ID 4 is deleted now. So as a business analyst, so let me show you again the flow, okay? So I'm going to insert one more record. Let's insert a couple of records, okay? I insert 4 records. So I'll show you here. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 records here, right? So the lowest one is third record. So rest everything should go, okay? So that's what we are going to duplicate here. So let's execute here. Okay, everything affected. Let's select and see, right? One single click. So that's is our exercise. As a business analyst, you don't need to write SQL queries, but sometime you may need to verify testing evidence, or you need to show sample what is the expected value. You can you can get a query. If you don't know how to write, you can ask your developer, or you can ask your tester. Get the query, you can execute, and you can ask the table, so they can provide you the query, and you can execute, and you can see whether it's working or not. Okay. All right. So that's all about our exercise about database. So now let's start our day 4, which is API. Okay. So our goal is today understand how internal and external system connect using APIs. You will learn what is an API is and why it's important, and how request and response work, and JSON structure and key value pair, HTTP methods, get, post, put, delete, and difference between REST APIs and RESTful APIs, what BAs need to define for API requirement, and how to write user stories. Okay, so let's get started. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. Okay, so you can think of what is an API actually. Like they exchange data between two technical components, right? So you can think of it as a messenger or bridge between two systems. Okay, what are the two systems? It can be from front end to back end, or database to front end, or database to another external database, anything, right? So example, when our loan application system want to check customer credit score. So let's say we collect data from, let's go back here. So we collect data from, this is customer is providing us. So we are not sure if we cannot provide money, lend the money, right? So we need to get customer credit history. So how we can get this one? So we can send this information, not customer name, SIN number, or other demographic data, to the credit union, right? Credit union, we can send this data via API. So credit union can provide us some credit related information. Okay, so that's one use case. So that after we get the credit score and credit history, and based on the business logic, our application can decide how much loan can be given to this customer. Okay, so API is very useful. So if you are talking about real world analogy, think, so maybe I'll include here. So think like API is like a restaurant waiter. So how this works? So you are as a customer, you go to a restaurant, you see the menu, and waiter will ask you what you want, right? So you provide your input, you provide your data, you provide your request, right? You order your food, whatever you name it. So here most appropriate word is request. You provide your request. I need a soup, I need a burger, right? So waiter, our case is API, take your order to the kitchen or server, our case. So as a customer, client, you provide your request, and API carries the request and go to the server to fulfill the your request, which is the kitchen, in our case, this analogy. So the kitchen prepare your food data, right? So you are asking some credit related data, or you are asking a burger. So kitchen prepare. The waiter brings back as a response, right? So customer, client provide the request, API takes the order, request, JSON payload, and go to the server and bring back the response, right? So you can go on. There are so many example like library and example. There are so many examples are there. I hope it understand what is the main concept of API. Okay, so here you need to understand request and response. Okay, so API act as a middleman. It's like a postman, right? Like you post a letter to your friend, a postcard. So postman take the letter and deliver to your friend, right? Same concept. Okay. So next one, I didn't write this one. Okay, so let's write it. Type of APIs. Let's make it a little bigger. So these are just good background knowledge. You can capture in your user story also. Internal, first one, I'll write internal APIs. So if you are working your institution or your company, so this API, let's say from front end to back end to front end, or it's getting from another database, CRM or profile in another database, you have some REST services or other APIs. So those are not exposed to out, it's internal. So internal, so something we can call used within the same organization. Okay, so the example between front end and back end, sorry. Okay, so this is one example. So next one, external APIs. So external API connect with third party system. So these are the examples, very important. You need to know how to capture requirement for this kind of work, external APIs. Okay, either you are creating an external API or you are using external API. Okay, our use case, remember, loan application, we collect information from customer application form and we send to credit union. So we are using their API, external API, to get the data, or you build an external API to send request to credit union, either way. Okay, so that's the external API. So you are building API to get data from external systems. Okay, third-party vendors you can call. Okay, example, credit check. Okay, fraud detection, KYC verification, you name it. Okay, so there are many use cases. Open APIs. So you have seen open APIs. Google and other companies are giving like weather data. You have open API, currency exchange, right? So you have so let me write the detail here. This API is publicly available. Okay, publicly available, this API. Okay, so example, currency exchange data you have seen, right? Weather data. Okay. Sometime we are building partner APIs. Okay, so they are shared between trusted business partners. Okay. Example, credit card integrations, right? Like Visa, MasterCard, or debit integrations. So you can use as that. Okay. So these are the type, but it doesn't matter it's internal API or external or open API or partner API. The format is going to be same only. So we are going to discuss the format. Okay. So let me duplicate this one and oh, I deleted this one. Duplicate the slide. Okay, so let's modify. So what is the BA role in API project? Are you working with any APIs? Sometime no, right? So as a business analyst, as a BA, okay, as a BA, what we need to identify here? Identify the systems. Identify which systems need to exchange data. This is very important. Okay, you can map this one. You can ask this question. Define what data fields, next one, okay, are required in request and response. We'll talk about requires. Okay, next one, document error message. We're going to see everything. Okay, I'm just writing first messages and fallback roles. Okay, and review API contracts, also other documentation. I'm not going to list it here. I don't want to introduce more concept here. So let's keep it simple here as a VA, at least if you know this, and support. This can be doable. Support testers during API validation. Okay, so we will be using a application called Postman. Okay, So this is used for API test validation. Testers are using this one, so maybe we can write using Postman or other tools. Okay, other tools, automation tools. Okay, so our case we are going to use Postman. Okay, so identify the which system need to exchange data, define what data fields are required, and error message. Okay, are we clear? Okay, so let's take a look. What is a request and what is a response? Okay, so request is what you what data we need to give to the system, right? So to get the data, what input we need to give to the system, or something, right? So this request is sent to a specific URL, also called as an endpoint. Can I have a URL? Just want to show you. Okay, so example, you see, so this is sent to this specific URL and also call as a endpoint. Okay, so we are using something called HTTP method. So I'll come back to you here. First, let's learn required basics. Okay, so next one, response. So let's go back here. Response here. Okay, so response is what comes back after your request is processed. It include like data like a loan record, right? So here you see request show me loan status, what you are asking, and what do you get back, right? Like error message or like whatever sample response. So you see this is a sample request. You are sending name, loan amount, and status, right? Sample response. Okay, so this is a sample response. See, loan is created successfully. Return list all. Sample response. Okay. So next one, you will be hearing JSON. JSON request, JSON payload. What is it? JSON. So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So this is the format API used to send and receive data. It's a key value pair you can call. So the name is the key, actual data value is the value. So loan is the key here, loan amount, and actual value is whatever the loan amount, which is here 5,000. So status is the key, approved, whatever the status, approved is the value. So we are calling this as a key value pair. So simply we call as this one JSON format. So you will be hearing JSON format, JSON payload is nothing but it's just a very straightforward key value pair. Okay. So next one, HTTP method. Okay. So before we learn HTTP method, you need to understand what does mean HTTP, right? So let me write it here. What does HTTP mean? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, so you don't need to like this all for your background knowledge. Okay, you don't need to memorize anything. So what is actually doing this HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol? It is the rule or language computer use communicate over the web. right? Let me write. It is the rule or language computers use to communicate over the web. Okay, let me correct this and over the web. Okay, so when we send or receive data between two systems like your browser, right? So here from your browser, so that's the front end, right? So from the browser, you are sending data through your Postman to server. Postman, which is our API, right? We are taking API, so to the server. So it happens using HTTP. Okay. For example, it's like think your highway. Okay. So HTTP is like a highway. Think of HTTP like the road on which which your request travels from your computer to the server. Okay, so think like a road, a car. There is a car. Okay, so car go on road. So this is the highway. Example 401. This is the highway in Canada. Okay, so 401, and your car is going to from one destination to A destination to B destination. So we use highway, right? 401 or 400, whatever the highway, freeway you are using. So your car go one place to another place using a highway or road. So same like the web data goes through the HTTP. So the road is HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? So that's why you will be hearing HTTP methods. So what are the HTTP method? So HTTP method you can see here, get. So get means fetch data. It's equivalent to select statement, right? So you see view the data, use a get method. Post data mean you create something new, add a record, right? Put, update, modify record, delete, or you can see self-explanatory here, remove data. Okay, so those are the basic. We can keep this one. Okay, so don't worry if you understand up to this point. uh, I'll just tell why they are calling as REST, representational state transfer. So there are rules, each request is independent. Use standard HTTP method. We'll cover more detail about API, more concept and other technical detail. But as a BA, this is enough. So basically, you just need to cover request, response, and what are the fields, what are their message we need to cover. Okay, so as a BA, these are the things you need to know: API name, URL, HTTP method, input parameters, JSON payload, output, and validation. These are the things you should capture in your user story. Okay, so now let's take a case study, and we'll create user stories, and we can execute and see how this is data transferred between systems. Okay, so our scenario, you are working as a business analyst for an online loan application system. When customer fills out a loan from website and click submit, the data should go to the backend system through an API. Okay, so this is our use case. So we are going to build APIs. You don't need to build. So we just need to capture requirement. So we are going to build APIs and which carries data from frontend to backend. Okay, so that's our use case, and we might use this one for connecting to external database and fetching data and store it into our database as a student exercise. If time is available, we can use this one. Okay, so this is for tomorrow, or some other similar use case, whatever use case as a recap we can use tomorrow. Okay, so we are only focusing this scenario. Okay, all right. Okay, so now what is the first thing we need to do? We need to capture the features, right? What we are going to implement, right? Our feature and the process flow, right? In the user story, estimation, then creation. Okay, so let's do quickly this thing. Okay, I'm gonna insert one column here. Okay, so our feature is loan application submission. Okay, so this is our feature, functionality for loan application. Okay, so our use case, when a customer submits, let's document everything, submits a loan form, the system what should do. Okay, so that's what we are going to document first. Sends the form, typo error. Okay, sends the form data to the backend API. So that's what the flow start, right? API checks if all field are valid. Okay, and API connects to the credit bureau API. Okay, so this is end to end. Okay, so we are only going to continue these two step only. Okay, so let's write stores store the data in the database. Okay, maybe sorry, store system store the data in the database. Okay, that's it. This we can continue tomorrow. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay, so let's create a process flow first. Using this one. So let's start first. So what is happening first? When we start front-end loan form, what customer is doing, customer enters details. Okay, let's keep simple. Enter details. Okay, what details you know, right? Okay, then click submit button. Okay, so that's the first step. Okay, now second one, let's go to API gateway or the backend service. Okay, don't worry if you don't know these things, we will explain it. backend service, simply write backend service. Okay, so the backend service, I'll just go here, validate data. Okay, whatever request parameters, whatever it should go there, validate here. Data. What is checking? Check for missing or invalid fields or something like that. Okay, so you can include all the detail. I'm just keeping very simple. Now if validation pass, our case stored in database, right? The data in the database. Okay, so this is our okay. So you can write a success message or error message if everything is good. Respond. Okay, so respond. Let's insert one. What is this responding? Response, not respond. Respond to frontend. Okay, so message, right? Remember, loan submitted successfully, or an error message. Your error message, you can make this one bigger. Okay, so this is our script flow. Okay, so now we can go back to our user story where we create here in Jira. Okay, so let's go here. Our API user story. Let's create a user story. API so we can write here something called implement a new API for loan creation. Okay, so here either you can capture, and I will not recommend to create all the APIs in same user story. We can break it, so we just for demo purpose, I will include all the APIs in one user story. Okay, so but when you are creating, you can create separate user stories. Okay, let's create this guy. Okay, so now this is created, so we don't have information. So let's go back to description and we can add. So let me show you what I'm talking here. Okay, so let's write the user story. So here there is no user here as a microservice or as a developer, as a backend system or something like that. Okay, because the customer is not asking to create APIs. Okay, so here there is no user for us. So I'm using as a loan application system or as a loan application microservice or as a developer or backend admin or tech lead or whosoever. Okay, so what we need mainly, I want to provide RESTful APIs. Okay, so as I said, here I have written the title one API. Okay, so I'll include everything here for just demo purpose. Okay, APIs, but when you are creating actually, you can keep it separate user story. Creating, retrieving, updating. We are going to create 4 APIs. Okay, so that's why deleting loan record. Okay, loan records. So that other systems like what do you call reporting systems or CRM or something or mobile apps, whatever other system can access and manage loan data efficiently. Okay, so this is what we need to create this one. Okay, so here if you are creating a add loan, okay, so you can use this one. If you are hitting get method or updating or deleting, so based on your requirement you can keep the word. Okay, but this is just a mega epic super big user story. Okay, so we should not create big user stories unless it's required. This just for the demo purpose. I'm acceptance criteria. Okay. Oh, sorry. Something. Okay. The acceptance criteria. So let's create the first API here. Okay. So create. So I'm going to use so scenario one, we are creating loan creation. Okay, create loan API. Okay, so here we are using given when then. Okay, so just for me it's easy, but it's okay. Whatever you prefer, you can use. Okay, given a valid JSON payload. So don't worry if you are a beginner, if you're not follow along, I'll create a more dedicated video how to create user story for APIs. It's just one big video. Okay. First name, what are the fields we need to include here? Okay, email and name out. Okay, so these are the field will go in the request. So what we need to do when the request come, when a post this HTTP method request is sent to here URL. Okay, so the moment when you are creating the URL, if you don't know, just leave it here. When the URL is ready or design is ready, you can ask your developer or tech lead provide the URL. You can include in your user story. But my case, I know the URL name. Let me copy paste. I have. Okay, so this is the URL to create. Then a new loan record is created. Okay, and the system response with a success message. Okay, and a unique ID. You'll see in action. Okay, so very important. It's not important how do you write this one. So very important. You provide a sample request, and sample response. That's very important, right? That's the main part of writing a user story for API, right? So I have here, this is how I capture. This is what actually developer and tester is needed. So if you are wondering who will give this one, so usually the design tech lead or the solution architect or the vendor, uh, they will provide it. So you can write simply what purpose you need and the definition of dumb test cases. So here you see the URL. So this the URL tester will use in the Postman and method. This is very important. And sample request, what are the input parameters here, right? The JSON payload, what you need to provide input parameters, right? First name, last name, email, amount, and sample response. Once you send, what you get back. Okay, so this is one method. Let's assume we are created for this one, creating one only, right? So I'm going to update it for the next one. So I'm not going to write the user story given when then. Okay, so I'm not going to write here. Uh, you know, maybe I'll write a second scenario so that you guys can watch this one. Given existing loan record. Okay, so let's assume we created a loan records in the database. When existing loan, when get request is sent to, so URL name here. Okay, we'll just read it. Then what the system should do, then the system returns a JSON list of all loan records. Okay, so second use case we want. So similarly, we can provide the sample response here. So I think I have the wrong request of here. So get all loan, we'll use this sample here. So one more thing, there is, I'll show you something here. So if you see, there is no sample request. There is nothing you need to provide. So how do you get this one, right? So the here in the URL itself, we are providing the loan ID, right? So here you see, if you provide here one, so the loan ID will read this first record will read loan ID 2. If you are providing 2 here, the 2 will record here. Okay, so it's included in the header, it's included in the URL. Okay, so that's the second scenario for us. Third scenario, we can have an update here. Okay, so given a valid loan ID and updated information in a put method. So here we are with put request is sent to valid JSON data. Okay, when you execute, then you'll understand this one. Okay, JSON data, what the system should do, then the system updates that specific record, right? Whatever the record you are asking to, and returns a confirmation message. We are going to test using Postman, so don't worry. So again, we can provide a sample request here too. So update the loan, this is the sample request. Okay, so put method, in the Postman I'll explain you the sample request here, URL. Okay, so here you are providing the loan ID itself, right? Which record need to be updated here, and in the request body you are giving what data fields should be updated here, and you get the response something like that. Okay, so finally, last but not least, and we can delete a record. Okay, number 4, acceptance criteria. So you can create 4 different user story. Okay, just for easy. I'm writing everything in one, like it's like a big user story. Given a valid loan ID exists when delete send to, this is the URL name, then the system removes that record and returns a, okay, maybe you can see here, success response. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let's quickly give a sample here. So this is the sample. Okay, okay, let me make it big. Oopsie, it's gone. Okay, it's taking time to load. Okay, let's save before it goes. Okay, so first one we are creating. So important, whatever you write text here, it doesn't not going to make any changes. So important, you provide this information: URL, method name, sample request, sample result. These are the 4 items. It's very important when you are writing a user story, API user stories. Okay, these are what tester and developers they are looking for. Okay, so now we created the user story. Our next step is to estimate this one. So if it is one user story, I will estimate to 5. Okay, so let's assume we have one. So you have 4 user stories there. So 4 into 4, 20 story point. Okay, so we assume one API. So that's why we story pointed 1. Okay, so when you're talking to your developer, so this is not very complex or medium complexity backend data person. So when you're talking to your tester and developer, again, they're so they're very interested. They want to know this information. Okay, sample request and the sample response and URL and the method name. Okay, so which we already included in the user story. Okay, so now let's go back to our actions, right? So I already created here, but before that I'll use how to use this Postman. Okay, so you can go to um, Google, you can type Postman free download for API testing. Okay, so you can, it will open something like this. Okay, so from here you can use your Google account. Using your Google account you can sign up. Okay, so that's very straightforward, and once you sign up and you will see something like this. Okay, so this is my Postman. Okay. So here I already created, I'll show you here. Okay, so you can create new, so it will ask HTTP, right? It will ask HTTP, and first we need to create this one. Okay, so this everything provided by the developer. Just for the demo purpose I created everything. Okay, so the first URL is here where, so this is the URL we are going to copy. So here there are few areas you need to take a look here. So you see this is the URL, and you need to change your HTTP request. So here you see in request, this is not get. Get mean you are viewing. So this is a post. You are going to create post request, right? So you see, sometime they will talk developers headers. So here I'm for the simplicity, I'm not. We don't have any headers here. So body. So body is the place where your input parameters will go here. So you can just simply click row. So don't worry, if you are thinking this is a lot of work and a lot of technical, you don't need to do this one. So if you are you are ahead of the game, you can clearly explain to your testers and developers. So if you are a backend BA or working with technical user stories like creation of microservice data migration, these are very useful concepts. But you can simply ask your tester or the developer, share with me the Postman collection. You can just import here. You can directly start testing. Okay, but it's always good to know this is what's happening behind the scene. So that's what we are learning. Okay, so here body. So if you see uh, the body request, so this is what will go. That's what we need, the sample request. So let's copy the sample request here, copy, I'll post it in the body. Okay, so I'll beautify, click this one. So this is arranging my request. Okay, so now what we need to take care of this one, sample response, right? So we can send this response. So let me go to the database first and I'll show you. Okay, so open database. Here D4 API, okay, loan demo, SQL database. I don't need to save this one. Okay, so browse data. Okay, so this is my database. Okay, so this is the database. We try to insert the data using Postman. Okay, the APIs. Okay, so let's change the name here. Let's write my name, Jason. Okay, and last. And let's change to 15,000. Do you have a record for 15,000 here? No, right? Okay, so this is the request. We can hit send. Okay, so see, this is the sample response. That's what we are providing, right? So message ID and the loan ID or the row ID is created. So we can verify. So you see, this is what the HTTP code, right? 201, it's created, okay, or 200, okay, something, okay. So our case, it's giving 200, okay, created. So let's go and refresh, and you have to see something. I'm refreshing data, so under my name, one record is created, okay. By the way, my last name is not Sumit, okay, just simply for the testing purpose. Okay, so congrats, your first API is working post method. Okay, so your next API is, let's go back to our user story also. How to view, right? So this method we call get method, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy the URL. Okay, so here we can go to new HTTP. Okay, so it's by default get. Place your URL here, and let's see what we need to provide input parameter. Okay, sample request, nobody is required. Excellent. Okay, so sample, this is what we need to see. Okay, so let's go back to Postman. Body, there is nothing we need to give here, so it's empty. So what we are trying to get, whatever the data is here in loan application, this table, we are going to review. Okay, so we have how many records? 6 records. So we need to see. So this is how your records will be shown to you, right? First name, loan ID, row ID, and the name, and this format. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this request. Invalid. Okay. Okay. Invalid protocol or URL. Okay, so I might close this one. Don't save. So I have already running this request. Okay, let me execute and see if it is working. Okay, so you see, I already created that one. So this is what you have to see. Okay, so there is nothing you entered here, and you should see all the records. So how many record you have until the last record you created. Good. Okay. So now your next one is we can do update. Okay. So that's a put method. All right. Okay. I'm going to use the same thing here. I already have. Okay. So the put method, here you have the put, you need to select your put and your URL, and here you need to provide your response. Here you see the loan ID, row ID here, right? So here there is no, if I send this one, so let me send this one, okay? So there is no loan number 4 here. What will happen? So 404, these are the error code we are talking about, right? So this record is, nothing is there, right? So let's say if I play around something here, I remove this one, okay? Bad request. This is incompleted. So you see, it's giving a bad request. So uh, you need to capture this one, right? Okay, let's get back here. So again, giving 404 bad request because there is no ID exist 4 here. That's why it's giving, right? What else? Okay, so now we'll go back and do the actual testing. So can we update the record I created 9, okay, under my name, amount. So what we try to update here, my loan is 15,000, so I want to update to 30,000, and my email ID is here, so we are going to replace with John Smith. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one, send this one, and you see what is the response you'll get. Okay, so this is the response expected. Loan records updated successfully. Loan ID J Smith and 30,000. Let's check it here also. So see, it's updated to 30,000 and your email ID also updated. Very easy, right? I love it. Okay, so the last one we have a delete. Okay, so I have already running here. I think I created delete also somewhere. Okay, so this is the delete method. Again, there is no um, body request we need to give here. Okay, so we just need to simply give which record you need to drop here. So this case I'm giving 9, the record I created. Uh, so you see different status code we are receiving. Okay, so all good to go. This should go. Okay, it's giving 404 not found. So we don't have loan ID 5. So we're supposed to give 9 here. Okay, 35. Okay, say loan record deleted ID. Okay, so this should go. Let's refresh. This is gone. Okay, so those are the 4 basic HTTP method you need to learn. Okay, all right. Uh, let's go back to our slide. So you see, you notice while you are testing, right? So you see OK status code, the last one you see OK status code here, and 201 when you created the updated one, post method you see created, 400 bad request you see, 404 not found you see, 500 I'm simulating this one. So I can break the connection here and I can simulate this one. So let's leave it this one. So these are the common status code here. Okay. Okay. We discuss everything. Just double check if anything. So okay. So we reached to end of our lesson. So you learn what APIs are and how they connect systems, and JSON and key value pair, HTTP and REST services, how BA define API spec, and writing user story for API integration. Okay. All right. So now time for the testing our knowledge. Go back to our multiple choice questions. Time for testing your knowledge. Okay. The first question, what does API stand for? Very easy, right? Application Programming Interface. API is bridge that lets two software systems talk to each other and exchange data. Okay. And what is the main purpose of an API? Okay. So B is the answer, to connect two systems so they can share data, right? API allow the front end, back end, or external system like credit bureaus to communicate. Okay. What is an API request? Can you guess here? API request, the command of data we send to the API, right? A request asks the API to perform an action such as creating or retrieving the data. Okay, so we saw all four examples, HTTP methods. What is an API response? The data returned by the API after processing your request, right? After you send a request, you provide some input parameter, the API replies what data or status message. This is called a response, right? Okay. Question number 5, what is JSON used for in API? To format and exchange data between systems. This is the right answer, right? So JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a simple text format for sending and receiving structured data. Okay, that's the right answer. Okay, question number 6. Which HTTP method is used to retrieve data from an API? Can you take a guess? Very easy, right? So you are retrieving the data, which is GET, right? GET is used when you want to fetch or read data from the server. Okay. So again, which HTTP method is used for create new data? Which one? Put or post? Post is the right answer. Post is used when sending new information to be added to the system. For example, new loan report. Okay. What does the delete method do? Obviously, this is removing a record from the system. Okay. This one. Question number 9. What is an API endpoint? It's a URL, right? API endpoint is the unique URL where an API can be accessed, right? Each API has a unique address, like API get loans, you send or receive data. Last question. As a business analyst, why do you have to understand API specification? Obviously not to write code, right? So to define clear input output requirements and helping testing, right? That's the right answer. Understand API specs, help BA explain what data is needed and what response is expected, and verify if system communicate correctly. All right. Okay, so now let's go back to our interview questions. Tell me about a time you worked on APIs in a project. Okay, very good question. So in my project, I've just put training project. In my project, we build a small loan management system. So based on your use case, you can update this one. Okay. So let's say if you are not actually worked on, you can use this our project as an example. Okay. I was responsible for documenting and testing API that connect with the front end and back end. So what you did, obviously you created the user story. So you can mention what method it's include, what you did, post and get, and how do you, you can clearly mention how do you test it postman, like you saw, right? And result, I learned how backend data travels through API, and my test result help developers to fix data formatting issues quickly. Okay. So second scenario, how did you ensure that API met the business requirement? This is very quick question. The business owner doesn't involve the API requirement, right? But how do you explain to the business owner? The business owner wanted the loan system record and display all the applications accurately. So what you did, I had confirmed that API met those requirements before team moved to the next phase. How you perform, I review the JSON request and response sample with the developers and tester, check the field names are compared. So whatever the business is giving, okay, the names, say number, field name, those are business requirements. So where does it go? It goes JSON payload or JSON request input parameter, right? So that's how we need to put, okay. We caught few missing feet early, such as created a timestamp, fixed them. So based on your experience, what are the issues you are facing, you can replace this result. Okay. So next question, question number 3, describe a time when you collaborated with developers on API issue. During testing, the post API for creation loan was returning an error. So you can troubleshoot, right? So I need to help identify issue was due to missing data or backend logic. I analyzed the postman request, confirm all the postman requests will tell you in the response why is the error is based on the code you can identify. Confirm all the match data model and share this screenshot with developers to develop found that amount field was passed as a text instead of a number. Okay, so this is a common mistake, nothing to worry, but you can catch this error while you are testing. After correcting the data type, API worked correctly. This experience taught me importance of clear data format validation. Okay. Question number 4, how do you handle communication between front-end and back-end teams during API testing? Our project had separate front-end and back-end developers. I need to make sure both sides understood how data would exchange through APIs, right? So these are the common case for all the PAs. So you might write front-end user story and you write back-end user story. You will write integration user story. So you need to talk to front-end developers and back-end developers or full stack developers. It doesn't matter who you are talking. So if you are writing a API related user story, clearly mention your API endpoint and purpose, sample response input parameters of fields, expected response, which I show you during the demo. Okay. So last question, tell me about challenge you faced while testing APIs and how you solve it. Okay. API testing is very fun. Okay. It's not difficult if you have the response and request. So here situation, while testing the updated loan system was not updating the correct record. So task was I need to find out issue was with the API logic or the record ID. I tested different IDs in Postman, then shared the logs with the developer. It turned out the endpoint URL was missing /n. So these are the common errors when you work more, and if you will learn how to read error message and you can quickly figure it out from the response. Okay, result was no need to worry. So the issue was fixed immediately and learn how small syntax errors can break API communication. Okay, so last but not least, so your resume update. You can include your response with documented and analyzed API requirement between front and back end system, created sample requests and response. So you're not creating, so you are work with this one, you have exposed to this one. Okay, so maybe you need to change this word. JSON, create, read, update, delete operation, use Postman test. You can mention this one, used API testing using Postman, field validation, collaborated with developers to troubleshoot API issues, verify endpoints, help align API design with business rules for customer loans. So definitely you can include, because we convert business fields into this request and response. And your skills, technical skills, you can API testing using Postman, JSON, REST, requirement documentation, collaboration, and this is your domain. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for API layer. So tomorrow what is coming? So day 5 we are going to discuss very exciting topic, microservice. So we are going to put together everything, front end, back end, and the APIs in one system. Okay, so that's called microservice. So we learn how small connected service from larger system using APIs. Okay, so until we see next time, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.